times where a man would discover his truth, who he really is. Where crunch time is one of the most difficult times a man will ever experience. Crunch time for some will be, do you have the guts to make the final play? Or for others it'll be, the children hungry. Either we gonna make a play, or these babies gonna go hungry. I say we make a play. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Crunch Time Survivors. This is your head coach, Chang.
I'm your offensive coordinator, King Ja.
It's your defensive coordinator, Cat Daddy. What's going on?
And today, man, this is a special moment with the month of October coming up fast, man. We're going to celebrate the women that fought the fight of breast cancer. And, man, I brought in I'm lucky to have two beautiful women, friends, little sisters, Cara and Tish. Tish. Two sisters that actually fought the fight. And man, like it's crazy, and I want to say it's almost unheard of for two sisters in the same family, not that far apart. I know people every day think you girls are twins, and it's crazy because I thought the first time that I met y'all, and man, like that had to be crazy, and it had to be like stressful on your families, your mothers, your children, your spouses. So who was the who found out first? Like who went through the actual fight first?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
So and introduce yourself.
I'm Tish, and we actually are twins. We're Irish twins, so we're 11 months apart, so we're actually twins. I found out first. I went through it when I was 25. I found out I had cancer, and I went through the stages of chemo, radiation at the age of 26 for like a little over a year, fighting the battle.
Fighting the battle. So why did you go and get checked? Like what made you go and get checked?
I actually had like a cyst growing on the outside of my arm, my right arm, and it was starting to get very painful. My doctor ordered for me to go have a surgery done for them to remove it, and when the surgeon removed it, he wanted to do a biopsy, and he came in and said they were going to run tests to see if it was cancerous, and it turned out it was.
Man, so how old were you when Cara? Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Cara. So I found out I had breast cancer when I was 31 years old.
31?
Yeah. So I was in the healthcare field for quite a while, so I knew about checking your breast once a month in the shower type of deal. And one day I was in the shower, it was in December, and I, did my routine check, and I felt something in my left breast. And it did feel different than what I usually felt. I didn't say anything at that time. I actually did two more routine checks. And then in the 2 months later, which was in February, it was still there, and it was actually a little bit larger. And that's when I decided, yeah, it's definitely time to go see, someone about this. So at that time, it had been 6 years after my sister had breast cancer. So, it's a thing. Let's look into it. And so I actually scheduled an appointment with her surgeon. And crazy thing about it was what weekend was that, Tisha? All-Star Weekend in Orlando?
When you found out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I planned was, in my mind, it's going to be nothing. I'm going to take the day off. I'll go see the doctor, and then we're going to go to Orlando and hang out. However, based on like the ultrasound, he looked at it and he asked me, "Do you want me to be honest with you and tell me tell you what I really think, or you want me to sugarcoat it?" And I said, just give it to me honest. And he said, "It looks like cancer." And I screamed so loud that my cousin was in the waiting room, and she heard me screaming, and she ran through the office and she came to my aid. So because I had a map from what my sister did, I kind of followed her same course of treatment. So what they tell you is that when you're young and the cancer is young, you think of it as a child is very wild, immature, and aggressive. So you want to kind of treat it as such. So it's different methods that we could have chose. I chose to do a double mastectomy.
Okay.
And that was an option of mine. I could have removed the lump. I could have did different things, but I chose to say, hey, let's just get rid of this and get rid of possibly ever coming back, and I'll get some new ones later.
All right,
And that's
so
what I did.
so at when you found out, Tish, what stage were you?
3.
And what stage were you, Carl?
3.
Oh, so both of y'all was at stage 3?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
Coach, I want to step in real quick. Before we move too far ahead, I see, like right now, we're already in the stages. Tish, I heard you earlier. You spoke on a biopsy.
Yes.
Can you explain to people what that is for people out there who doesn't necessarily know what that means?
Well, biopsy is where they remove it and they take your cells and they actually go take it in and like go under microscope and see what it is.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
prior to that, I had a sonogram done, and they were saying that it didn't look like anything. So I found out a total year later.
Okay.
So that's why it's progressed the way it did. So they had to actually take it in and test out the cells of what they removed from it.
Right. Real quick, one more question. What are some of the things y'all wish y'all have known before starting treatment?
Well, it's different for me than her because she was my guide.
okay.
I had received it. I received that diagnosis 6 years after her, so I kind of
Right.
followed from her
So
lead.
what would you say?
Well, I would say like what I found out a lot of stuff while I was going through it because I went in very blind because I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So I was so young and no one in my family had ever been through it. I have never heard of it. So when they told me, okay, you might have cancer, to me, I didn't know what it was. It sounds like weird, like, oh, but I had no idea.
So really no reaction. It was just kind of like
I went off
okay.
of my sister reaction and my friend who was in the room with me reaction.
Right.
Because my friend, she actually, when the doctor came in, I'm laying up from surgery, like sedated, and she screamed.
Right.
And she called my grandmother. And my doctor that I was seeing at the time, my primary doctor, once they found out that I did have cancer, she told me that my sister called her and she was screaming and crying to her. So I was like, my sister crying? Like, what's going on? She don't never cry. Like, oh, this has got to be something serious,
Right.
And my family member, they was coming around, but they was like, they wasn't really saying anything, but I could tell by everybody's face and everything and the way they was treating me, like, oh, this is something serious. Like, okay, this is possibly something that, start reading, doing research. Oh, this is something that I really have to take very serious. Like, this could take my life,
Right.
So with that being said, right, you in the room and you find out, and they gave you the news from that moment. Like, what were your thoughts? Like,
Well, at the time,
What
my
came to
thoughts
mind?
was, why is my friend sitting there crying on the floor, on the ground? Like, I was sedated, so you gotta, like,
Yeah.
when you come out of surgery, you're not there yet. Like, I
Okay.
was under anesthesia, so I didn't know what it was. I was looking at her like, well, why is she crying? Why is she, like, falling on the floor?
I'm actually talking about post that moment.
Oh.
Like how did the
When it became
plan-
real.
when it became
Yeah.
real
Yeah,
and you got to
exactly.
go home? Did you have kids at the time?
Yes.
Did y'all have kids at the time?
We
Yes.
both did. Yes.
All right, so knowing the end game and how it can go, not knowing the end game, but understanding the end game. Like, how did you feel? What were your mind? What was your mindset? Like what would you say?
My mindset was basically like, I had 3 small children.
Okay.
And once I started doing research and stuff, I was like, whatever it takes for me to fight this and beat this, whatever it is, I'm going to do because I don't want anyone to raise my kids. I want to raise my kids. Like, I don't want nobody else to raise them. I want to be there to raise them, like, at least see them. If anything, I want to see them graduate,
Yeah,
I
that's
wanna
a
be
crunch time
around.
moment right there. What about you?
Yeah. So initially, when they told me that, it felt like I was dumped in a bucket of ice water. Like, I was just in shock. Like, this is a real thing. And I called my sister and I was like, cancel the plans. Like, I can't breathe. And she was like, no, we're going to stick to the plan. We're going to go out there. Like, things are going to be okay. And so on the way to Orlando, like, I'm in the back of the car and my mind is spinning. And that was the first time I actually heard from God. Like, people say, oh, he talked to me. He had never talked to me, or maybe I had never listened. And he kept telling me the same thing over and over and over. And I really thought it was a head trip. So at some point I said, well, let me listen. And he basically told me, he said, if you stop doing this, And people in Tampa probably will know what I'm talking about, depending on the time I say.
I understand.
Here.
We understand. We all came from somewhere.
He said, if you stop doing this, I will let you live. And the selfish part of me had to really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said, you know what, it's not worth my life, it was a peace that came over me.
Okay.
And every time I would think about that anxious feeling, I didn't have it anymore.
Okay.
So at that point, it's time to fight.
Okay.
It's time to fight. And I kept that urge, like, this is my determination. What I called it is, I would look in the mirror and I say, this is my body, and bitch, you're not going to take it. And I would have to say that over and over again, because sometimes
like
you have good days, bad days, or whatever, but I had to talk to that thing and let that thing know that's what you're not going to do.
Okay, so, all right. So now, you done went through the fight. You done fought the fault. You done kicked cancer ass, right?
Yes.
Your baby sister, or you're the oldest?
Yes.
All right, so your baby sister called you, right? And she say, sis, I got cancer. In that moment, I know it's intense. I know it's emotional. What you say to her?
I can't remember really what I said, because like if somebody called me, like she called me, like it's like almost like it wasn't real,
Okay.
because that was like my mother's concern with me. Like she had 2 daughters. Like what if and so it was like almost like it's not real. Like okay,
what's the odds of that?
This is not happening. Like she's calling me with this, but I'm like in a dream that she's gonna actually have to go through the same thing that I went through. You know, because it's very difficult. Chemo is something that only people that had to go through this like would know. So it was just like I had to keep her encouraged, you know, and tell like to follow the steps. You know, the thing about it is, if you have any negativity in your life, just try to eliminate like the thing. You're gonna have stress in your life anyway, but anything that you eliminate that you don't have to deal with, cut it off, because you only have time to focus on
the fight.
The fight and what's most important to you, because at the end of the day, we're still mothers.
Right.
Okay, and y'all got
You know.
people that's dependent on you. It's got people that see, and I think that's the hardest part. My sister died of cancer in 2017, and it was an adrenal cancer that spread it everywhere. So you know, it was crazy, and you know, she fought as long as she could, and I understand cancer now, right? And for a long time, I'll tell you, I hated it, right? I really did. But however, when she found out she had it, me and my sister weren't close for a long time because she chose the way to live her life and I chose the way to live my life, and we used to butt heads. But what cancer did was gave me a chance to mend that relationship while she fought, and we had a chance to get that situated. We had a chance to get that right before she left here. And see, I'm glad that y'all used y'all energy for the positive and the kick cancer in the ass. So like sisters like to see it. It almost like, man, it'll bring tears to your eyes to see 2 sisters actually, hey, I already done faded you. What's up? We gonna fight this together. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what I admire most. When I heard y'all's story, my DC, her cat daddy, he told me, because we was actually looking for people to interview, and he was like, man, you know, these 2 sisters, they actually had it in the same family, and you know, I said, well, man, that's something we need to do. That's something like we need to do because it's almost unheard of. So, like with that being said, I heard you talking about the chemo and the radiation. Like, how did that make you feel? Like enlighten us on like what does that make your body feel like?
Well, it actually made me feel like I just wanted to die. Like, just take me. You know, like, just take me. The feeling, like, you could actually feel them injecting this in your body. It feels like they're injecting poison inside of your body.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. So, you have to get it done every so often, and it takes its toll with your body, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't really do, it's like you lifeless, but you have to get it done.
So, yeah.
And you chose, did both of y'all have surgery, or you did a double
Mastectomy, right?
mastectomy?
Explain
Wow.
us what that
to
is.
us. Yeah, explain that.
Okay, so I explained that, and then I want to answer your question as well.
Well, you can do either or first. You can answer the question
Okay.
if that's easy.
So I'll say the mastectomy first, since it came first.
Okay.
So they found a lump, and like she said, they take a sample out and they put it under a microscope, and they could tell what it looks like, what normal tissue would look like versus what a cancer cells would look like, and then they grade it. So ours both coincidentally was already at a 3. So there's different stages. when you get to a 4, it's to the stage where it would start metastasizing, which it would means it would usually start spreading.
Okay.
So we weren't at the 1 or 2. We were already at a stage where it needs some attention and aggressive attention.
So y'all in the depth of the fight. Y'all in like the 8th round.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Already,
Okay.
very quickly. It escalated very quickly. So, I chose, like I said, versus just taking the lump because we were young. So my doctor said, we could just take the lump or we can just take the left breast. And I was like, no, just take them both, which means they chop them bad boys off, throw them in the garbage.
Okay.
And he said, well, are you sure? And I said, absolutely. Because if you take this and it's a possibility, and I want to get into this later, while what decision that we made, I'm glad that we did make it. Once you eliminate the possibility to a 1 or 2 degree, you don't have to worry about it reoccurring.
Okay.
So for me, I was, like I said, I was 31, so I was at that age where I knew later I might get some new ones anyway. So
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I said, go on and take them. Just go ahead and take them. So they removed both breasts. And after that, each cancer is different. So even every breast cancer is different. So that means the treatment may be different. Ours kind of mimic each other, where some of the chemos were bad, where some of the chemos I was still able to work.
Okay.
And others I couldn't drive or anything. And there was one particular one that I don't remember the name of it, but this was the last one they wanted to do because we did a series of chemos. It was not just 1 or 2. It was a series of them.
I didn't know it was
Wow,
different.
I didn't know. I thought it was just one chemo.
It was a series of chemo treatments that we did, different kinds. And the last one, he had a conversation with me. He said, this one, Cara, it can make you fertile, which means that no more kids for you. It can change the coloration of your skin. It could do different things to your organs. The red one, by far, was the worst. It was really the worst.
Wow.
I would go in to do my chemo treatments, and sometimes my brother would go with me, and his wife. This particular one, they didn't want anyone else in the room to even be exposed to this, and it's actually going in my veins. So that lets you know the level of toxic that's going in there.
Yeah.
And it was a nurse that was in there. So one of the things that kept me motivated was after my first treatment, and she was a black woman. Me and my sister are both black. And instead of her being encouraging, when I went back, she was like, how do you feel? I know you feel bad. And I made it in my mind then, every time I come in here, I'm going to be at my best.
Okay.
So I tried to keep that negative energy, like she said, from around us, because me and her both decided it was some people that I didn't even tell I was going through it because I know they were negative people.
Okay.
And I didn't want anyone speaking death on me.
So a part of your medication was just being positive, great vibes.
Yes.
That's great medication for that.
Yes.
That's
So-
the best, one of the best medications for it.
Even in going through this, you still had to live this thing called life. You had to
Yes.
balance your children. You had to balance relationships. You had to balance jobs. So tell me about you first. Tell me about, like, how did that take effect on your relationships?
Well, at the time, my fiance, I have 4 children. My youngest child, I had from him after chemo. So at the time, he was very supportive.
Okay.
So he was like, at the time, he was 21. Now I was 25, 26.
Okay.
So, at that time, we were going out a lot.
All right.
So it would be certain times where, like, he would go out and he wouldn't want to go because I had just had my chemo. And, I couldn't do anything but just lay in bed. And I would still, like, tell him, like, go. Go out, have fun. I still want you to live your life. Like, do not live your life because I can't go with you right now.
Okay.
And as far as, like, my job, I was working at the school board around kids at the
Okay.
time. And some days I couldn't do it. I just couldn't get up. But all of the women that I worked with, sometimes I would come into work and they would just let me sleep.
Now you talking about good coworkers.
They was very supportive.
What about you, Carl?
They
Like,
were.
how did it affect your life and your relationships and Relationship, not ships, but ship.
Because I be in these streets.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
And what you spoke on is real, and I do want people to understand that life does still go on.
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, it was 9-month process. So I said, okay, it's like a pregnancy. So 9 months out of my life, I had to fight. But during that time, sometimes I would work, sometimes I wouldn't work. My car got repoed. I had to move in between. At first, the person I was with at that time was very supportive. So my doctor, it was a cancer that started to get my hair. It started falling out. And the doctor suggested that versus you just letting it fall out, just go ahead and shave it. That's a thing for me because I'm a doll. So I am a doll.
Hey. I feel like I'm the finest fat guy on earth. So I don't care what nobody say. If you don't love yourself, who will?
Right.
So I'm right there with you. That's why we some kin. Exactly. You my little sister. You know? Okay.
So that was one of the major things for me. And the guy I was with at that time, he took me in the kitchen. He was like, just sit down and chill. And he actually shaved my head. He washed my scalp and then did some other intimate things after that, just to let me know that it is okay and I accept you for who you are. So my stylist at the time, she said, Cara, now it's time to go with different colors. So if you see me now, you will see me with the blondes, the reds, the others. So that was a time for me to like dip into different personalities. So she was this color, and that just kept me motivated.
We
so
know
like,
you got 7 of them.
so who we gonna be? Listen,
We know you got 7 of them.
I got 7 of them.
Yeah.
Man, listen.
So I got to explore different types of hair, so that kept me, it kept my spirits up.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so Tish, like with your kids, like going home every day after chemo, and kids still want their moms, and I want y'all to like talk to these women out in America that's going through this, that just found out, and women all over the world. Correct myself. Like you still got to go home. You got to be a mom, and you got to be strong for those kids. And like, how was that for you?
It was very difficult. My family was very supportive.
Okay.
So I was never in it alone.
Okay.
Like my grandmother, sometimes she would just come and just sit there.
We're just talking about grandmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just talking about grandmas. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
She was
Don't
like,
count my business no more.
she was just like my rock. Like if she wasn't there, I wouldn't have made it. She would just come sit with me, and she wouldn't say a word. She would just come sit, and
'Cause she
she'll
was a
just take the
praying
kids.
warrior.
She was
a
praying.
warrior. You hear me?
She was praying.
So y'all jump cancer.
So y'all
We jumped. Oh yeah, we
Hey.
we jumped.
So
Everybody
y'all was
fought.
like the houses in the kitchen. So y'all cancer showed up and y'all showed out.
Yeah.
The whole-
So we like the bunches.
Yeah,
like
the family
for
showed
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
The family showed
Man,
out.
but that's
So
what
look,
you
so
need.
like with that in mind, like you grew up watching your older sister go through this, fight it. When you got diagnosed, did you know off top, seeing her go through it and beat it, this was something that couldn't stop you no matter what?
Well, I want to go back to her because at some point I felt like I felt her as a sister, because I would go and I just had to see her to make sure she was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go over there and literally do nothing but just stare at her, because I had to, like I just had to keep eyes on her.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her after, was it your 10 years? It was one of the years that we were celebrating for her. And I broke down and I'm like, I'm sorry, because I felt like I could have been a better sister, but all I could really do was just watch her and just make sure she was okay. Because if she wasn't okay, it just wouldn't be. But like she said, we have a very close-knit family.
Okay.
Very, very close-knit family. And the ones that were there, they were there.
Okay.
And so when it was my turn, I held them accountable to a degree that was unheard of.
Right.
If I lost 1 pound, I would
Y'all
send them in the
slipped.
group chat, I lost a pound, what are y'all doing? But keep in mind, I am very dramatic. But they were there. They would stop what they're doing and bring insurance or bring food or whatever. We had a very close-knit family. And that's the difference.
Okay.
That makes the difference. Another thing that I think is very monumental is your mindset. It's your
okay.
mindset. giving back to other women. When I would go in, I had a very strong mindset. Like, I'm going to do this thing. It's no stopping me. And I would see other women going into the doctor's office or wherever, and they had their head down, no matter what the age. I would talk to them and tell them, it's okay. You got this. You got to tell yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, you're going to beat this.
Right.
Half the fight is your mentality, your mindset. Say you're going to beat it. If you need to put on boxing gloves, do what you need to do, but tell yourself it's going to be okay. If you have a bad day today, I will tell myself, that's okay. Tomorrow will be better. It may or may not, but I never let it take me down to a point where I was in the gutter.
Right.
So I think the second question was about my kids. I had 4 kids at the time. The youngest one was 2 years old, and my oldest was 11. And the oldest was 16, I think, because she was just learning to drive. And my chemo was in Brandon, and the days that I couldn't drive or someone else couldn't drive, she learned to drive on the interstate during chemo. She was like, "Mom, I can't do it." We got to get on it. We got to hurry to get there. It's across town. So my older kids understood what was going on. But every day I looked at them, I said, I can't fail them. I cannot fail them. And,
So the kids was the motivation.
the kids, they were the motivation.
The kids were the motivation.
They were.
So, like, I will say this, right? Keep it up. I will say this. Laughter, love, positivity, mixed with chemo and the medicine that they have in place to beat this. You can't have one without the other. And that's all of what you need in the fight.
Yes.
Yep.
And like with any great fighter, and I just told someone this, everyone gives Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali all the glory in the world. But it's the people that were in their corners that made them great. Mm-hmm. So the grandmas, the mamas, the children,
yes,
is what motivated y'all.
Yes.
Yes, my mom was very supportive. Like, just my whole family in general.
Wow.
Like,
Village.
When
village.
then Cara said,
Right.
like, the same thing, I'm going to go back to Cara when she said that she didn't do anything. Because she, like you said, Cara's very dramatical. So, from the beginning, just me hearing the doctor, when the doctor said she called her to cry, that's all it took for me. Because she don't cry. I mean, maybe now she's a little older, but back then we the way we were set up. So that was like just seeing her come over. I could see the concern in certain family members and cars when I could just see it in her face too. Like, remember when I found out it was right before your birthday, and I waited till after her birthday to even give her the news because I already knew. It was more to me like more on my family and my kids, seeing them. Sometimes I just fought for them. I didn't. It get to the point where sometimes you don't care. Like, you just be like, take me, because the chemo is that bad on you.
I think that's a good definition of a true crunch time survivor. Like,
Man,
people that really, really sacrifice just for the betterment, you know what I'm saying, of other people. You know, you just take it in, you know what I'm saying? So commend you for that.
So with that being said, right, and Carl, don't ever feel like you failed her. When you said you sat there and you just watched her, no, you was admiring her. And it was with the Holy Spirit, because you know God, right? That's what you just said, that, right? And long as that's involved, like, man, like, just looking at her motivated her.
Yeah.
So
it
like,
did.
for all these women out in the world that's going through this fight, you're looking at 2 sisters that whooped it. They real crunch time survivors that have been in crunch time. They found out they had a sickness. They had babies to go home to and take care of. They had bills to pay. They had a support team that was out of this world. They had real trainers in their corners. And that's what you're going to need to beat this disease. Women, get checked.
Yes.
Get checked. Go to your monthlies. Go to your yearlies. Make sure you ask questions. Get checked. Because guess what? You'll never be prepared to fight if you don't even know you have one on your hands. Crunch time survivors, baby. We're going to take a break.
No, we're going to close out. We still on?
Oh, I had one
Real
to
quick.
say one other
Yeah,
thing,
real
but-
quick. We will do a part 2 to this. It will be a part 2. We just won't have enough time to get all
we got
the
like 10
information
minutes,
in.
Okay.
But we will
So
do a
that
part
could-
2.
that'd be great.
And then real
Part
quick.
two would be
I
that.
got to do the
Yeah,
damn
just
party
real
thing.
quick.
Go ahead.
People have to. Cara said, and touching on what you said, you felt like you let her down, And this is a message for people not only dealing with breast cancer, but period. Understanding roles. Roles. Every role is important. No role is just as important as another one. So you being there in those moments, she knew you was there. She knew you couldn't help her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just being there is, 100 times over not being there. So that's for everybody.
Hey, October 22nd, Don Rivers. Damn. Go, give me another one. October 22nd, Don's River. We having our first breast cancer awareness party. Y'all gonna see my homies there, Cara and Tish. You already said real crunch time. Yeah.
Special guest too. You said on that. Retake it.
Damn, man, who the special guest is?
Babs. Wild Babs.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wild Babs. Okay.
You guys don't say it yet. Just,
Damn, I forgot all about that.
Special guest.
All right.
What's Wild Babs?
Oh, the girl from the radio station. All right. Tell me to go in. Hey man, y'all know what time it is. Crunch Time Survivors. We got the and I did the shit. Go ahead.
Go. You can change it.
No, don't worry about it. We'll do it outside.
All right.
We'll do it
Stop
outside.
hitting the table too, man.
Yeah, you right. Damn, man, what? He should have reminded me. Let's go ahead.
And that's our event where we're going to be twerking.
Yeah, you can twerk that.
That's another thing with surviving. You have to dance.
You got to twerk.
You have
All
to
right,
dance.
all
You
right.
have to
Let's
twerk.
go. Let's go ahead.
You have to twerk.
Let's go.
You have to.
We on still. We still rolling.
Oh, okay.
You have to twerk.
Any contact information?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Damn, you know something. You're right. I got the page.
No,
I just
hold
put.
on.
Hold on. We'll go back and put that on.
Okay.
I just tag everybody on it.
Okay.
What you call
We can put the ad on when we air it.
it. Okay. Yeah. Bet.
Big booty bitches.
Oh, what you do?
Twerking from 12, boy.
So like you said, right? So like you said.
Yeah, we call it Crunch Time Survivor Pink Edition.
Yeah, Pink
And
Edition,
that'll be
yeah.
all of the women that we
Yeah.
feature pretty much.
And then
Okay.
yeah, okay. So we said it takes laughter, love, positivity, patience, nutrition, and you also said what else it take?
Twerking.
So
That was very much a part of the fight.
you pretty much gonna get a chance to do that.
Yes.
You gonna get a chance to do that. October 22nd at Don's River.
Yes.
Guess what? We doing a party just for y'all, just for the fighters that's fighting the fight, that lost the fight, and that's fighting the fight. We're gonna
Okay.
celebrate y'all on October 22nd at Don's
Right.
River.
Yes.
And we actually have a special guest. So man, y'all come out. Put your grown folks clothes on. Bring your positive, bring your positive attitudes. Bring your dancing. I don't know about I
Tell a
gotta do
friend
it.
to bring a
Twerking.
friend.
Bring your
Yeah.
friends, all the fellas. We don't need none of that mean mucking. We gonna have some good grown folk fun, and y'all gonna be here with my homies, Cara and Tish. Man, they real crunch time survivors, man. Real crunch time survivors.
We'll definitely be there. I want to add
Your
one more
sisters.
P in.
What's that?
Prevention.
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 You right?
Prevention.
You can tell them better than I can.
That is
Prevention.
prevention.
Hey.
Elimination. Knowing what to eliminate.
Yeah.
Yep.
We all have to go through that sometimes.
Yeah, and we're gonna tell council to stop playing. That's
Yeah,
what
we
we're gonna do. Council
Yeah.
better stop playing.
Stop playing.
Stop playing. Hey man, thank y'all for coming out tonight. Hey, I'm the head coach Chain. That's
And I'm the offensive coordinator, King Ja.
and then
Defensive coordinator, Cat Daddy.
hey
We
man, y'all
are
with the crunch time survivors, baby. Stop playing.
Don't play with us.
Hey, let's go out here.
Growing up, I was told it's the difficult times where a man will discover his truth, who he really is. Where crunch time is one of the most difficult times a man will ever experience. Crunch time for some will be, do you have the guts to make the final play? Or for others it'll be, the children hungry. Either we gonna make a play, or these babies gonna go hungry. I say we make a play.